Destiny 2, a game created by former Halo developers Bungie, a game loved by many people with fans throughout the world, has had its own fair share of controversy since the very first game came out almost a decade ago. From disappointing storylines to early mismanagement, Bungie was somehow able to grow out of these controversies and build a community so strong and tight-knit that many other developers have tried the same approach with their own games and failed. The constant communication between Destiny 2 content creators and Bungie is what helped grow this community, and for the most part have been on good terms, even if disagreements would be had. However, the entire Destiny community would be in for a shock in March 2022 as Bungie would do the unspeakable, putting more than just the game at risk. On March 17th, 2022, an affiliate partner of Bungie called CSC Global started going nuclear and copyright striking any videos archiving or containing Destiny 1 and 2 soundtracks. Now back in December 2021, lots of channels that were posting just the soundtracks themselves that were monetized were getting struck, which is understandable given they were making money off copyright content. But now people who weren't making any money, or who were using it as background music for their own videos and not breaking any copyright law, were getting strikes as well. I'm not talking about no small Joe Schmo content creators either. YouTubers like @Cross got 2 copyright strikes and was at risk of losing his entire channel with the third and had to cease channel operations for a hot minute because of it. My name is Bife, known for his extensive and well-researched and explained Destiny lore videos, got a strike of his own and started to show his frustration on Twitter, and rightfully so. When you take a look at the strike, it even says it was from Bungie Inc. And so Bife got the idea that it must be CSC Global going insane and not Bungie themselves, still rightfully frustrated but also trying to put the pieces together in his head for those to see. Destiny 2 community manager Cosmo would reply saying that they're having a meeting over what's going on, and just a few hours later Bungie would post on their official Twitter page that they had heard about the copyright takedowns, saying they got their own videos took down as well, and that it was not them nor CSC Global issuing the strikes. This was something that people were not expecting to hear. The reasonable assumption was that CSC simply went nuclear when it came to using Destiny music in YouTube videos, and in doing so was acting out within what they assumed was their right. Now that Bungie came out and said that not only did they get takedown requests, but that neither them nor CSC were behind the strikes, while extremely confusing, was very relieving for people to hear. @Cross would get both his strikes rescinded, and the same would happen to Bife as well within the very next day. All was well now after this attack on the Destiny community and Bungie themselves, but 3 questions were still lingering. Who decided to strike down all these videos in the first place? Why did they do it? And how did they do it? People would speculate about this, with some people saying it might have to do with Sony's recent acquisition of Bungie. Perhaps CSC Global got overzealous and went after content creators as demanded by the new Sony gods? It seemed like the only rational explanation, poor management and communication from CSC, and yet you have to remember, they also struck down Bungie's own YouTube videos, and given they both work together under Sony now, there was no way this was just a simple mistake. After all, Sony would never attack their own studio after buying it for $3.6 billion, that would be beyond scandalous. As people started to check off any sort of rational explanation for what happened, only one option remained, and one that is unfortunately common on YouTube: a false copyright strike. Now, false copyright striking is something that has been plaguing YouTube creators for years. Basically, a false copyright strike is when someone sends in a claim that another video is copyright against them, fully knowing it isn't, just to cause grief and drama. It's extremely easy to put in a false claim on YouTube, and is unfortunately common to hear a bunch of stories about people abusing YouTube's terrible enforcement system, as anyone can file a claim and pose as whoever they feel like. Cade 6, Lanza, Bungie Inc., if you can name them, you can claim under them. This is illegal to do, yet people still decide to break the law anyway because it's so easy to do in the first place. This situation had gone far beyond overstepping rules and accidentally enforcing them too hard, but now to a malicious attack on the entire Destiny community and creators and anyone who came across the striker's path on YouTube. Now by this point, people had already come to the conclusion that a bad actor was behind all this drama and how they did it. Thankfully, no damage was left behind, so now people had 2 questions remaining. Who was it, and why? Who was the person behind all this? Why did they do it? Nobody had a single clue, nor did they have any definitive reason. They knew how they did it, but who and why did they do it? Revenge? Boredom? Nobody knew. People would speculate for a bit, but soon moved on as it wasn't worth worrying over now that they knew Bungie was looking into everything. As for Bungie, they would work behind the scenes to uncover whoever was behind this malicious attack. Week after week, month after month would tick by until people finally got the answer they've been waiting for. On June 22nd, Bungie would file a lawsuit against Nicholas Minor, aka Lord Nazo. Throughout the past few months, with the help of Google, Bungie was finally able to find out who was behind this attack and the motives and reasoning behind it. What we're about to go through together is an attack nothing short of pure malicious intent, all based around one thing and one thing only: revenge. On December 20th, 2021, CSC would issue a DMCA takedown on Minor's upload of The Last Stand, a track from the Taken King original soundtrack, to his Lord Nazo YouTube channel. Minor neither deleted nor gave a counter notice to YouTube about the claim, and so YouTube would promptly delete the video on January 25th, 2022. That very day, Minor would create a new Gmail account, jeremywillandcsc@gmail.com, mimicking CSC Global's employees' email accounts. He would make a tweet the next day saying the takedown wasn't by Bungie, but by CSC, calling them a nuisance and saying they suck, basically. On February 5th, Minor would submit a false strike to an unknown video pretending to be CSC under the Jeremy Willand email account. He would then purchase a physical copy of the Witch Queen original soundtrack delivered under perfectnazo1@gmail.com and start to upload tracks of it to his Lord Nazo YouTube channel. On March 2nd, CSC would take down 41 videos that re-uploaded Destiny 2 soundtracks, with 23 of those being from Minor. YouTube would disable his account on March 3rd as he was a repeat offender, and so he would complain on Twitter about the takedowns, telling Bungie that he would delete anything that infringes on their copyright. He would also post to his YouTube community tab about the ongoing situation and that he would be taking steps to prevent any further strikes on the channel. On March 17th, after being fed up with Bungie and CSC, Minor would create another fake CSC email, DamianReynoldsCSC@gmail.com, and start to send out fraudulent takedown notices, 38 from Jeremy Willand, one from another Gmail account, JacobAlvarez@gmail.com, in which he identifies himself as Damian Reynolds, and a duplicate that is now under the Damian Reynolds Gmail account. After seeing he submitted a takedown under Jacob Alvarez, Minor would submit an identical one under the Damian Reynolds account, and so YouTube took notice of this and flagged them as both fraudulent. Minor would reply and say, "I hereby retract my claim of copyright infringement," and falsely identify himself as a CSC employee, sending the corporate web address, phone number, and address of a real CSC office in Delaware to play the part better. On March 18th, he would submit 5 more fraudulent takedowns on the Jeremy Willand account. On March 19th, he would successfully withdraw the Jacob Alvarez and Damian Reynolds duplicate fraudulent takedowns and would send in another 53 fraudulent takedowns as well. Within those 3 days, Minor would submit 96 total takedowns, targeting 95 videos posted by multiple members of the Destiny 2 community. Adsit Cross, My Name is Biff, Promethean, and many more. After this, he would submit a takedown notice on his own channel under Jeremy Willand to try and get suspicion off his back. He even sent a counter notification this time to YouTube, challenging Bungie's identification of his video as copyright, trying to play both sides of the field. The message he sent is nothing short of strong, stern language from Minor of his fake anger towards Bungie, and him asking YouTube to reinstate the videos, as Bungie themselves stated the takedowns were not under their request, all while knowing he was the one who orchestrated the entire mess to begin with. Minor would tweet about all this under his Lord Nazo account, acting like another poor soul wrapped up in the giant mess, and would even make a Reddit post saying how he had been dealing with this since early January and how Bungie didn't care until bigger YouTube channels started to get affected by what was going on, acting as if his original video from back then wasn't copyright and he didn't get what was coming. He reiterates once more in another Reddit post, and even tries to get YouTube to restore his videos in a tweet, saying they should be back up because Bungie said they didn't do any of the takedowns. Bungie had been keeping an eye on this situation as early as March 18th, when Deputy General Counsel James Barker was made aware of the fraudulent takedowns and found out along with CSC that there was no record of any sort of takedowns or anybody submitting one. Barker would get a screenshot from Adsit Cross, and both him and CSC quickly put together that this wasn't from either of their workplaces and that something was afoot. Throughout the next 4 days, Bungie would work tirelessly with YouTube to get all these takedown requests off people's channels and for things to go back to normal. As this was all going down, Minor would email CSC under his Damian Reynolds account a bunch of threatening messages such as "You're in for it now," and "Better start running, the clock is ticking," reveling in the chaos he had started. One in particular was him sending an email to David Thompson CSC@gmail.com, playing keyboard warrior over the situation and pretending to be tough over the internet. Members of the Destiny 2 community would send an email to Bungie that they got through the Jeremy Willand email account containing a manifesto, claiming that he and David Thompson were the ones behind the false copyright claims, that neither of them worked for CSC, that YouTube's copyright takedown system is flawed and very easy to abuse, and pretty much goes on about how he wanted Bungie to acknowledge the issue of YouTube being easy to abuse before ending it with saying he was sorry for what he did. Miner was trying to get out of the situation without anybody finding out about his identity, but by this point it was far too late, as Bungie and Google had already been piecing things together behind the scenes. On June 10th, after responding to a subpoena by Bungie, Google would provide them with the proof that Miner was behind the fraudulent takedowns from the very beginning through multiple IP addresses. To sum it up, as it gets confusing and I'm not a doxer, Miner was caught logged into his Jeremy and Damien Gmail accounts under the same IP that Perfect Nazo 1 did. The household IP would change and the same 3 emails would operate under it, as well as logging onto his Overlord Nazo Destiny account. The Steam profile linked under Overlord Nazo would link to the Lord Nazo YouTube channel, and on top of that, his Reddit account Lord Nazo claimed to be behind the YouTube and Twitter accounts, all but confirming the location and who is responsible for all these fraudulent takedowns. Having all the information they needed, Bungie would wrap everything together, call up Tiblik Law in Seattle, and sue Nicholas Miner for $7.6 million as the news would break and people finally got the answers they were looking for. Within hours after Bungie submitted the lawsuit, Twitter user AtlixMusic, aka Owen Spence, would tweet out the lawsuit itself and would give a bit of extra insight to the situation. His friend, Nicholas Miner himself, was playing along with him and a bunch of others affected in the Discord group chat, including the aforementioned Promethean, who has since made his own video explaining his experience with Miner, pretending to be the victim well knowing he was the one behind the entire mess. Some leaked messages from their group chat include Miner feeding out clues to people while under the guise of victimhood, while bragging that YouTube's broken copyright takedown system is very easy to abuse in instances like these. We get even more clues from the man himself about how easy it is to make a fake email, and then he tries to play it off as if it's the little guys like them who got shafted in the end. Seeing Miner play with all these people affected in this entire mess shows you that he had no good intentions to bring a YouTube loophole to fair light. He just wanted to see the world burn and let his ego feed off the grief he caused onto others. The very next day, people were made aware of a post Miner made on Reddit back on March 17th, the day he started sending out all the false claims to big creators and his own friends. As long-winded as the post is, when I say it's full of nothing, I truly mean that, as reading this post now, knowing he was the man behind the entire madness, makes it feel like some sort of attempt to become a martyr while trying to preach how copyright law sucks and all that. He complains about how he and others were dealing with copyright issues for a few years now and how it's annoying and blah blah blah, then starts to get into how Bungie needs to do something about the copyright mess that he started, which makes no sense given it was false copyright strikes by him through YouTube that caused this mess, not Bungie. Bungie has the rights to their own music, and if you upload entire soundtracks without adhering to their 80-20 content creation rule, you're gonna get rightfully struck down. Miner just got butthurt about this, and instead of understanding that he was in the wrong, he decided to try and take down an entire community with him simply because he didn't get his way. This story was entertaining as hell to go through, because here we have a childish person who tried to ruin the livelihoods of others simply because he got his own YouTube videos and channel rightfully taken down. Nicholas Miner probably don't got no 7.6 million sitting in his bank right now, so there's no doubt he's gonna get some jail time after the stunt he tried to pull. He tried to frame Bungie for his mess, but Bungie found him out and in the process was made aware themselves of just how shitty YouTube's copyright system works. We already went over it earlier, it's broken as hell and very easy to abuse, and now that a multi-billion-dollar company backed by Sony was personally affected by this, there's a little bit of hope that maybe one day YouTube will be forced to change the way their copyright system works, whether on their own terms or through legal means. It's wishful thinking, but it's better to leave off on a high note, and boy, we got one hell of a high note at that. What's y'all's opinion on this whole false copyright attack by Lord Nazo? Me personally, it's a shame someone was able to take things this far, but like I said, there's a little hope that one day things would change and all content creators from around the world won't have to worry about something like this happening ever again. It's great that no permanent damage happened between the Destiny community and Bungie, and that justice is finally being served. Make sure to tell me your opinions in the comments below. Thank you for watching today's video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, with all of that out of the way, I will see you guys later.